After nearly a year of public meetings, community feedback, and public outreach, Boise's Planning and Zoning Commission denied a conditional use permit to Interfaith Sanctuary. They plan to move their homeless shelter from downtown Boise on River Street to State Street, just west of downtown. And that vote wasn't even close, 5-1. Katya Stepovic was there last night and joins us now. And Katya, how did this vote, and we talked about this a little last night, how did it get to be so one-sided?
And I think a lot of people are still trying to figure out that out, Brian. I mean, up until this point, hearing public testimony and hearing, arguments from both sides, it really seemed like the commissioners were really split 50-50. But that all changed last night, and it changed when they got to item 4, and that was the adverse impact of the shelter's potential move. And that's when commissioners really started to voice their concerns about things like the negative impacts, things like increased call volumes to law enforcement and safety concerns from surrounding community and businesses in an already low-income neighborhood. Listen to this.
A conditional use permit cannot be granted due to the lack of information regarding mitigating the adverse effect that the development and/or operation of the proposed use may have upon other properties or upon the ability of political subdivisions to provide services for the proposed use.
And I just think that that level of adverse impact is significant, and I don't think the conditions in the current permit would mitigate them, because we don't really have any specific idea on how they would be mitigated.
Yeah, and the Boise Police Department, Fire Chief, and the Boise Fire Chief Department, they both gave their testimony and said that they are neutral on the matter and on the move, but still we had just the commission president vote against denying this conditional use permit. So again, the big question is what happens next, right?
Yes.
And I did talk to Jody Peterson-Steigers today, as well as proponents on the other side, and this is what they had to say. After almost a year of back and forth, some neighbors walked away with a sigh of relief following Monday's Planning and Zoning meeting.
I'm personally very satisfied, and I think the word I used is flabbergasted, that there would be 5 commissioners who have really heard what the neighbors have to say.
Bobby Aitchison, a member of the Veterans Park Neighborhood Association, says for the very first time in a year, she finally feels heard.
I think that the neighbors put together a very well-researched, a very comprehensive, a very respectful point of view about how we are totally in favor of appropriate shelter for the unhoused.
But over at Interfaith, the feeling is much different.
We're all angered and a little upset about what happened last night, but we're going to stay positive and move forward.
Joel Gilmore is a shelter guest at Interfaith Sanctuary.
I came here 2020 to get sober and join Project Recovery. Things are tough right now. I'm kind of stuck myself in the middle of where I make too much to get the assisted stuff, and I make not enough to go get myself an apartment. So I'm saving and working hard.
And while he continues to save up, the concern about where he will go next is rising.
Of course, there's worry. Where are we going to sleep? Where are we going to be warm? How can we continue? How can we continue to better ourselves? There is a large contingency. There's a big, huge group of people that we're producing that are getting back into society, and we want it to continue.
But according to Executive Director at Interfaith, Jody Peterson-Steigers, Planning and Zoning's decision did not come as a surprise, but it's a disappointment.
Shelter means people won't be outside in your neighborhoods loitering and things like that. The idea that they want to say no to a shelter is saying we want more people out on the street. Putting all that blame of medical calls, police calls, incidents on our shelter and not looking at the whole homeless population within the area, that's just unfair and untrue.
Peterson-Steigers says while their current building has already been sold, she's working with the owner to keep guests there until they have another building to call home, so long as that place is the old Salvation Army building on State Street.
Well, at first it was 6 months, but then we've recently spoken and he said, look, I'm going to be reasonable. I don't want people out on the street either. As long as this process is continuing with this building, I am with you.
In the meantime, Interfaith plans to surge ahead, not backing down in their plan to call West State Street their new home.
We are going to raise our voices. We are going to call out our community to come and support us in this move, because now it's time for us to change this conversation.
And best of luck to Interfaith, and we just hope to move forward with solving the problem.
Yeah. And Interfaith does too. They plan to file an appeal that will go to Boise City Council, and they'll do that in the next 10 days.
And that could still take a month to get in front of Boise City Council. And we were talking about this earlier, because if they have, and credit to the landlords of the owners of the Interfaith Sanctuary building where they are now, giving them a little extra time working with them. But a guy like Joel that you talked to about the story, can we expect him to still be in the system, in Interfaith Sanctuary 6 months, 7 months, 8 months from now when they're still trying to find a new place? I mean, will this, what happens now, still affect somebody like him?
I wish I could say no, it'd happen. He'd be out in a month. He's been there since 2020. So it's taken him a long time to kind of get on his feet, and he's in a great position. But again, it's that affordable housing issue. Jody says she wished she could say people would be in and out in a month, but now it's taking 6 to 18 months, if not longer, because people are just waiting to get on that affordable housing list.
Wow. All right. That's a long time. And that's a big number. A lot of us in the newsroom didn't expect that number.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Thanks, Katya.